Hello again. So today I thought I'd talk about a question that comes up for people, often when they're fairly new and they've done maybe some beginners courses, and they have a question about whether they're Buddhist or not. And they sometimes say, well, at what point do I decide that I'm a Buddhist? And of course, there's no easy answer to that. But anyway, I think it is an interesting question. How do we get to the point where we decide that we're a Buddhist? So, yes, people come along generally to the Buddhist centre to learn to meditate, and often they're not thinking about Buddhism at all, which is fine. But as I often say, meditation needs a context, particularly after a while. I mean, you can just meditate to be a bit calmer, to be a bit more mindful, and so on. But actually, there's a lot more possibility than that. And I think that most people that come to the Buddhist centre are looking for something. They might not even know they're looking for something, but they're looking, perhaps you'd call it meaning, some meaning in their lives. They suspect that there's something more than just the material world, but they're quite clear that they don't believe in an all-powerful God, and maybe they consider themselves atheist or agnostic. But nevertheless, there's something in them that keeps them looking, keeps them searching on this search for something more meaningful. Let's call it that. And at some point of practice, when we find out about Buddhism, some confidence arises in us. Confidence that we're going in a direction that's really helpful. And another word for that confidence we could say is faith, is Shraddha, faith. But in Buddhism, faith certainly isn't blind faith. It's a faith that's very much built on, several factors. It's built on intuition. It's possibly intuition that brought us along to a Buddhist centre in the first place. That intuition that there is something more. That intuition that there's something, people have usually heard a bit about Buddhism, read a bit, and there's something in it, that rings bells. And so there's the intuitive side. But then they need to find out. We need to find out more. What is it that the Buddha actually said? And so we may read lots of books, maybe come to some talks and so on. And so we're checking it out. We're checking it out in an intellectual, in a cognitive way. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. The Four Noble Truths, the 5 precepts and so on. So some of it starts making sense in that it is not in conflict with, our deepest beliefs and values. So we've got intuition, and we've got a kind of cognitive exploration. But then there's experience, and particularly our experience of meditation, I think. That takes us deeper into what meditation and Buddhism can offer. So it's like if you take a very obvious teaching like Impermanence, we start to see that within our meditation. So those thoughts that we've taken so seriously, suddenly we see them for what they are, that they are nothing that we can pin down. Where are those thoughts? Where do they go to? Where do they come from? And I think we get a sense of humour then about our mind and about the thinking mind, how it plays tricks on us, how we're determined to sit there with mindfulness, but actually what comes up is, a conversation we had yesterday or what we're going to do this afternoon. And the mind just goes on and on and on, and we don't seem able to stop it. So that's kind of interesting, once we find that out. It's like, we're not what we think we are. Things are not quite so predictable. We're not in control in the way that perhaps we thought we were. So there's a gradual turning. There's a gradual turning towards, finding out more, going more deeply into Buddhism. And so you've probably come across a teaching of the 3 levels of wisdom. So the first level of wisdom, of course, is listening or hearing. That might sound terribly obvious. We listen to the Dharma, we read the Dharma. It sounds very obvious, but actually there's a real art to listening. It requires that we've got quite an open mind, not an uncritical mind by any means. Actually, criticism is really important because it helps us get to the truth. But we come to it with open ears, an open heart, an open mind. So that means we really become interested and look into what's being said and check some of that out. So listening is the first level. Reflecting is the next level. So we need to mull over the Dharma and make it our own. The Buddha said, try out what I'm teaching and see for yourself. You're not asked to just blindly follow what the Buddha said. So there's many levels even to reflecting. We can turn something over in our mind. We can read more and kind of have internal arguments with ourselves. Well, what about this? What's the answer to that? And then maybe that helps us to go back and look again at what was said, and talk to our friends and talk to people that are a bit further along the path. So we chew it over and we make the Dharma our own. That doesn't mean we make it what we would like it to be, but we absorb it. It's a deeper level of absorbing the Dharma. And then the third level of wisdom is meditation. So we meditate on the Dharma. And that's an interesting area because mostly we don't sit there in meditation thinking about the Dharma. It's more like we have these experiences. So I've already talked about how, in meditation, in mindfulness, and when we're doing mindfulness or the metta bhavana, the practice of loving kindness, we notice that whatever arises in our mind is impermanent. It's not stable. But it's also interesting because it's not substantial either. It's not like we've got a fixed range of thoughts. Thoughts are, they're really quite exciting to investigate because you can't pin them down. You might start thinking about something really important and then your mind's gone somewhere else. As I say, we're not in control of our thinking. So what does it mean to meditate in order to see reality? What does it mean in terms of this level of wisdom? Well, I think it means being receptive in a very deep way. So sometimes I describe that as being receptive to presence. And what do I mean by that? There's nobody present, but it's almost like listening much more deeply to yourself, to what is present. So receptivity is a whole another subject, which maybe I'll talk about another time. But there's some interesting verses that can be found. One particular teaching is the verses on the faith mind by the third Zen patriarch, Sensang. I'm not sure how you say his name, but Sensang. And what it says is, let me see if I can remember. I can't remember the bit before it, but basically it says, stop talking and thinking, and there is nothing you will not be able to know. Stop talking and thinking, and there is nothing you will not be able to know. So what that tells me is how we overvalue concepts, and that we think reality is those concepts, those ideas we have. So we see reality as what our mind is telling us and what our heart is telling us. But actually there is a spaciousness that we can allow ourselves to be in within meditation, where thoughts have died away to a whisper, or maybe aren't present at all. And that's very interesting, because it's not like there's nothing there then. There's not a nothingness. Okay, that's probably not best place to leave it, but yeah, I think that's all I've got time for today. So I might take that up tomorrow again. Okay, bye for now.